Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Media Talks TV with your host Tony J. If you're new here, make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe because we got more videos coming along. Third video this week, third upload. Let's get into it. As you know, right now, Los Angeles is on fire. I wanted to wait until all this subsided, but it doesn't really seem like it's letting up. And this is probably one of the largest fires in LA's history. Now, LA has been getting a lot of fires over the past maybe 5 or 6 years. And what's so troubling about this these new wave of fires is that Santa Ana winds have swept up and actually set multiple parts of Los Angeles County on fire. Some of it is contained, some of it is not. And we've already lost a couple, maybe more than 5 people this week from that fire. Like I said, a lot of things are getting crazy in the United States right now, and it's only been 1 week. It's only been 1 week, and we've had a domestic terrorist attack. We've had this fire. Now I don't know what's going to be next. Most of the time it's some other crazy shit. That's why I always say the mantra: New Year, same shit. Whether it be a domestic terrorist attack, a mass shooting, or something catching on fire, something flooding, some massive hurricane come through, some massive amounts of tornadoes. I mean the fucking country ain't really catching a break. West Coast is definitely not catching a break. But the way I see it, it seems to me like it's kind of like the great equalizer. And I know people ain't gonna like what I'm about to say because it's gonna come off as being very, very insensitive. But hear me out for you know a couple of minutes because I just feel like I need to speak my opinion on it. No frills. If you got a problem with it, hit me up in the comment box. I don't care. But I see the fire as a great equalizer in a lot of ways. You could be religious, you could be philosophical about it. But like anywhere in the country, whether you live in Florida, Houston, New Orleans, whatever, most of the time we're used to this idea of floods on the East Coast. And the thing about the East Coast is, floods, blizzards, hurricanes, it comes with the territory. And we're better, really, after a lot of natural disasters that we've had on the East Coast and nor'easters and blizzards and stuff like that. We're a lot more prepared for the inevitable. And I feel like a lot of places are prepared. When we had Hurricane Sandy in New York City, New York City became a different place because no one would have thought that a hurricane would actually hit New York City, but it did, and it changed a lot of things. But the true reality is when it comes to LA, and this has always been known about California and Los Angeles, certain parts of LA are not livable. And most people have said time and time again, don't move to LA. Don't move to Los Angeles County. Don't move to Simi Valley. Don't move to these areas because of forest fires, because of earthquakes, mudslides. The whole state sits on a fault line, the San Andreas fault line. But yet, rich people continue, and it's not poor people, it's rich people. Let me make that very abundantly clear. It's rich people. These arrogant ass rich people feel as though they're above everybody else. So they say, okay, I can build a 10, $20 million, $200 million mansion on top of this fault line that rarely moves every maybe 5 to 10 years. I have the money. I'm arrogant. I'm going to build my house on the hill. Everything about LA, whether you live there or not, because it's well known, most people who are rich and wealthy always want to live in Simi Valley, Altadena, Burbank, all these areas, Thousand Oaks, knowing damn well that there's a likelihood that something, a natural disaster can happen. But because of the arrogance of a lot of these wealthy celebrities, musicians, they all said, fuck it, I'm going to build my house up there and we're going to have a good life. One of the things that I've learned, and I'm not a particularly religious person, but I do know that you cannot fuck with Mother Nature. I know that when Mother Nature makes its peace, it makes its peace in its swift. And I feel like in some ways, people who have for years denied climate change, denied it, and act like it never existed, act like it couldn't happen. Those are the people that have created a quagmire of problems for the United States and have made it so that when these natural disasters happen, they're not prepared to deal with the onslaught of the consequences that come from it. You could blame Gavin Newsom, you could blame Mayor Bass, you could blame the mayor of Los Angeles County, but the truth is, really, everybody that lives in California are to blame for their own misfortune. You're not a victim in this. I've sat and watched CNN last couple of days, and I ask myself sometimes, and I'm looking at the issue that why are people crying? You know, why are they crying? I uh you knew what was going to happen if you built your house there, if you brought your house there. You knew what was going to happen. So how is it that you could be so upset at the reality of the situation? I think it's just how can you how can you really honestly be this upset at something that you yourself thought couldn't happen. Everybody talking about, well, my house is gone and it's burned down. People lost their houses. And I'm like, well, the house really wasn't yours to begin with. And I think the reality of everything, what God is showing us, I think the reality is we've become such a materialistic society that we forget at the end of the day, the same people that are at the top are the same people at the bottom. Now, you notice that fire hasn't burned South Central. You notice that. You notice on TV, there are no blacks and Latinos complaining about their house being burned by the fire. There are rich, wealthy whites, celebrities complaining, crying. Oh, I can't believe this happened. But the thing about it was you wanted to live in the hills, didn't you? You wanted to live in near the mountains and forests and all these other places, and you know that you can't build a house in that area without displacing a lot of other people, which are the animals. I mean, bears and lion, mountain lions, all types of crazy shit live in the mountainous region. You don't think this fire affects them? They're burned out of their habitat. But the worst of it is you just cutting down trees and you know putting buildings and all types of unnatural in putting them in unnatural environments and putting houses in unnatural environments that displace animals, displace forests, not having a lot of forestation to keep fires like this from happening. When you build large houses on the hills in Los Angeles, you're sucking out multiple resources. And then to top that off, Los Angeles has a drought problem. If you study the history of Los Angeles never had any water. It was all desert. They had to create an aqueduct in the 1930s in order to bring water to Los Angeles County. So, really, if you think about it and you look at the history of Los Angeles is not an inhabitable environment. Well, it's not a livable environment. It never was. But you see people constantly moving there because they say, well, it's a lot of opportunity out here. You want to go to Hollywood, it's wealthy. But the news and you know, we don't want to have these types of conversations on the news because the news is about pushing profit. They want to talk about the disaster, but the disaster was really the catalyst. The climate is really the catalyst for the disaster because we don't have a country that is really introspective of itself. And we don't want to talk about the real issue that comes with what these fires really honestly stand for. You could come up with several ideas of what these fires symbolize. Maybe it symbolizes Pompeii. I mean, you remember what happened in Rome when Mount Vesuvius erupted and burnt. the whole empire to the ground because of the exuberance, the the sinfulness and the wickedness that went on in Pompeii. Maybe that is a symbolization for Los Angeles. Los Angeles became the new Rome. And I took that kind of interpretation from those fires, burning the wicked out of their homes, burning the wealth to level the playing field, because for a very long time Los Angeles and people in Los Angeles for the last 5 or 6 years are finding themselves priced out of their own homes, having to live on Skid Row, having to live on the streets, live in tents on Venice Beach. But nobody wants to talk about that issue. And, Los Angeles has had a homeless problem going all the way back to the Reagan years. But nobody wants to talk about that. Gavin Newsom doesn't want to address it. But yet, Donald Trump is the problem. But yet, government Gavin Newsom and people like him don't want to take accountability for the mess that has been created in California. California is literally a burning dumpster of problems. And like so many others, just like when I talked about Kamala Harris and the issues that she could have brought into the political sphere that would have made the United States worse, a lot of politicians that come from Los Angeles, come from Northern California, they're trying so much to push their wicked shit onto the world. Now, I don't care what your sexual preference is, whatever it is, but you got to ask yourself, why is this happening in California? And why are politicians like Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris, they're all being rejected? Because it's indicative of what the problems is in California. So whatever happens in California happens to the whole entire country. And you don't want the country to be looking like California, because it's going to be a disaster. Just like you don't want all of the southeast and the south looking like New York. And I'll go into that on a separate video about New York, but the point is that these fires represent something a lot more sinister than you and I might want to believe. You know, but it's also the incompetence of governing, where we worry about the least important things that really impact our pockets, and we focus on you know political stuff that we're ignoring, stuff that really directly affects or impacts people like us, the average working class people. So I can't really I can't really feel sorry for those people who lost their homes, because they're wealthy. And when you're in a position of wealth and status, you tend to forget the people at the bottom who have been trying very hard to get to the place that you want to get to. And that's the trouble. That's the trouble with all this right now in the United States. Thing about Materialism, capitalism, people buying large houses, people buying up all the housing stock to keep people priced out of decent affordable homes. I mean, that's the biggest issue that's impacting people in Los Angeles, not these fires. These fires wouldn't have happened if people would have not built their homes in the mountains. Simple as that. Very simple. But with arrogance, pride cometh before the fall. A lot of people are realizing now they underestimated the environment. They underestimated that it could all be taken from you with the snap of a finger, which means you were just simply a steward over the house. Now, how much money you have, you own nothing in this world. Only person that owns it is God Himself. And God made His point. Mother Nature made its point. One reason why it's so easy for people who have nothing to be the most free. That's what I took out of this whole ordeal. You can't expect people, you can't expect people to feel sorry for millionaires. And there's a reason for that. Like, you had the opportunity to be at the top of everything. You've accumulated all the stuff, and yet the person that's at the bottom, he's trying to get there. He or she is trying to get there, and they can't get a semblance of any type of peace. But the problem is Los Angeles has been a vapid city for a very long time. Materialistic, wealthy, exuberance. Hell, places like Beverly Hills and Rodeo Drive, they all represent something that is extremely wrong with the excess of American capitalism. You're the most expensive zip code in the world, in the state and in the country. Yet you got people that's working three restaurant jobs, three jobs, and still can't afford Los Angeles. The difference between Los Angeles and New York is that you could afford a little bit of something in New York City. In Los Angeles, you can't afford nothing. Even if you got three jobs. Even if you working as hard as your ass can work, you can't afford shit in Los Angeles. You can't afford shit in San Francisco or Oakland. And yet, this is the place where the tech bros and all the Silicon Valley people all reside there, and they've all had their own industry in that one state. But a lot of that is starting to change now that more tech companies are starting to leave Los Angeles and go to southern states and places where they're not going to be taxed to death. But yeah, California held a lot of stuff for a long time. And there's something wrong with California. And the one thing that's wrong with California is they got all the industry there. But what if one day the industry just burned up? The industry just destroyed itself internally. And I think that's what's happening. Like, these fires are just a sign. I look at it as a sign that those who have had wealth for a long time, their days are coming to an end. Their days as being the forebearer and leader of technology is coming to an end for them. And that's what I see as being the bigger issue. So much is wrong with LA. I wouldn't even go to LA. And it's not really much. And here's the thing, it's not really much to do in LA compared to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is always something to do. You go to, you know, you go to California, you go to LA, it's not much to do. Now, if you go somewhere like San Diego, yeah, there's something to do in San Diego, but there ain't shit to do in LA except, because you gotta have a car just to get from one part of LA to the next. It's ridiculous. Go up north, you want to go to a studio, taping, you know, it's not like what it was back in 30, 40 years ago. Now it's just a bunch of exuberance, but it's not much in LA to do where still in Las Vegas. There's always something to do. Like Las Vegas has superseded Los Angeles, which I honestly personally think is a good thing. Too much stuff going on. They got beautiful beaches, but it's really hard to move around in LA. Like I look at LA on a map, you know, and I see it, and it just doesn't seem like it's much to do. I mean, it might be a little bit of something to do, but not the same way as maybe like Las Vegas. I'm gonna close this out because I just wanted to speak my piece on this. You know, like I said, I don't know what to think. I just don't really have no sympathy for millionaires who have lost their home. I just don't. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. As long as you got your life, you should be lucky you have your life. Some people ain't got that. But crying over a house, I mean, shit. What did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen when you built your house up in the mountains? It is what it is. I'm Tony J. This has been another Media Talks Minute. I'll be back later down the line with some more new videos coming up. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe if you're new here. Welcome. Got more videos coming up, so stay tuned. I'm out. Peace.